Alright guys, so welcome back to another Patreon request, and this one comes from my good friend, Jason Voorhees 2011. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. Now, this video is going to be fun, because a while ago, I did a video talking about my 10 favorite episodes from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah, I had done that. Now, keep in mind, it wasn't a top 10 episode. It was just my 10 favorites in no particular order. So, Jason asked me, could you do that again, but with 10 favorite Powerpuff Girls episodes? And I was like, can do. So now we're finally getting to that. So like I said before, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon. You guys can hit the 3rd tier, and that'll allow you to start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. Now, like the Courage the Cowardly Dog video, this video is going to be more... It's not even a ranking, it's just 10 episodes I really like. Just like with the Courage the Cowardly Dog one. If you think of it... If this is not like rankings or whatever, this is just 10 episodes I absolutely love from the show. And if you think an episode should not be on here, that's totally fine. It's just my personal preference. I'm always excited to hear what your 10 favorite episodes from the show are. So let's get started with the list. Starting first and foremost, when I was doing this list, I was like, Speed Demon's going to be on here. Like, no matter what, when I really sat down and thought about it, it's like, no matter what, Speed Demon was going to be on this list. It is the darkest episode in the show, and probably one of the darkest animated shows of the episodes of the 90s. The Powerpuff Girls fly so fast that they go into the 50 years into the future and end up in a world where Townsville's been taken over by him. And it's such a depressing episode because it's just that, like, they went 50 years in the future and are in this horrible world where everyone is just, like, mutated and the whole world is gone to, as him would say, the whole world went to heck. I can't do him. I'm not him. But yeah, Speed Demon, it's a great episode. It's the darkest episode of the series. No one can argue that. But it has some of the best writing, too. Seeing that, and also you're going to see a lot of him episodes. He's my favorite villain from the show, so yeah. So there you go. Starting off strong. Then we have another favorite episode of mine, and yes, I do have them written down because I was going to forget them. But yeah, my following episode, next episode I really love, Just Another Manic Mojo. This is a great slice of life story in the day in the life of Mojo Jojo, who just wants to get eggs, and he's just incensed with the world. This is what really made it, like, that's what I really love about the Powerpuff Girls villains, is that they're all kind of like the rogues from the Flash Rogues Gallery, is that they're all just a bunch of dudes and who just want to get paid and also live a normal life. Or in case of Mojo's case, he wants to rule the world. But some of them all kind of do, but they all just kind of live out normal lives for the most part. And this is some of the best goddamn comedic writing and timing of any of the episodes. Curses. I can't even do the monologue, but it's hilarious every time I hear it. This really solidified just how funny the show could be, as well as action-packed. So yeah, just another... I know a lot of people are like, why that episode? Why not? It's my list. Also, it's funny, and the show's funny. So, yeah, just another Manic Mojo. Next up, Beat Your Greens. Beat Your Greens is not an episode a lot of people talk about, but it was one of the first episodes I ever watched of Powerpuff Girls. And it was such a trippy episode of just these alien broccoli people come down and a bunch of kids eat them like goddamn velociraptors. It's kind of horrifying if you think about it from the broccoloids' perspective, where they're just like getting eaten horribly. It's hilarious when you really think about it, of like, they're these monsters that are completely edible, and how they use like cheese and all of that. It's funny. I really like. It's just a funny episode, and it's always stuck with me. Again, it's not an episode a lot of people talk about, but it is one I really enjoy. Next up, Meet the Beat-Alls. When you think of like favorite or best episodes for most people, if you ever come across a list of like favorite episodes from Powerpuff Girls or top 10 episodes, Meet the Beatles is usually in that list in one occurrence or another, for good reason. Not just here, but I'm talking like almost every... If you go on here and see like top 10 favorite episodes, Meet the Beatles is here for good reason. The writing is great, and it's a perfect love letter to the history of the Beatles. I love the Beatles. It's a great love letter also to the John Lennon years, as well as like all the stuff with how they make these clever jokes about Yoko Ono, and they make these jokes about they make all of these jokes, and like you have to watch the episode multiple times to get all of the references from the show. That's how good the writing is here. And it's very clear that like Craig McCracken is a huge Beatles fan. We all know this, and to see how they use it is hysterical. And also, it's very clever writing. So yeah, Meet the Beatles was going to be on this list too. Next up, Crisscross Crisis. Crisscross Crisis wasn't like a segment episode. It was a full episode, and with good reason. There's some great comedy in there. There's some great action in there. It's a definite like episode that everyone remembers because it's such a well-recognized writing. It does take the whole body swap thing, but it's like, yeah, the body swapping is a tired ass trope, but at the same time it can be fun when you get the right creative team behind it, and god damn it, they got it right. There's just some great, especially towards the end where it goes to 11 with the body swapping and everyone's just fighting everybody. It's funny. It's very funny. But yeah. So next episode, another one of my favorites, Uh-Oh Dynamo. Uh-Oh Dynamo is just a love letter to kaiju like kaijus and mecha. There is so much action in here and so much ridiculousness. I've also been told there's like a blink and you miss it reference to Evangelion, which I haven't seen, but like if someone can point that out, if that's true, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, Uh-Oh Dynamo brought us the giant robot of the Dynamo, and brought in probably one of the best monsters in the show, the Blowfish. The Blowfish is such a recognizable monster. Hell, they used it in that music video. What was it? Superpower? I can't remember. But you guys, if you were on Cartoon Network in the 90s, 2000s, you more than likely saw that music video and how good it is. But yeah, the Blowfish is such a recognizable giant monster that they've used it several times before, and there's a great fight in here with the Dynamo. It's hilarious too. So, what's another one of my favorite episodes? The Powerpuff Girls' Best Rainy Day Adventure. We gotta remember that the Powerpuff Girls are still kids at heart. They're still very much children. They are still they still have a child's imagination. So when a rainy day comes along, they have to like figure out and play like a mission. And it's hilarious to see like how all of them play off of each other when they're still being they're still kids and sisters, and they're playing off of each other as kids and sisters. I think that they're like how if you've had kids or like if you remember in your youth where you would act like you would change the rules immediately or do something different. Also, there's a funny joke with Miss Blossom pretending to be Miss Bellum, which is totally inappropriate, but at the same time, it's like funny. It's one of those, I don't know how they got it past the censors, but by God, they did it. And, yeah, we're actually going to talk about another segment of that is with Something's Amiss. This is the episode where Sedusa kidnaps and pretends to be Miss Bellum and makes out with the mayor and kisses the mayor just to get stuff from him. There's also, I didn't realize this until later in life, and by later in life I mean a few months ago, that monologue that the mayor gives to the girls when he's like, "Strong men do cry." That's a reference to The Big Lebowski. I didn't realize that until I actually was watching The Big Lebowski, and I was like, I feel like I've seen this before. And then I thought, oh god, it's the Powerpuff Girl. It's the mayor's monologue from that episode. Also, I was going through puberty at the time with this episode, and you know what I mean with this especially Sedusa and Bellum. So, thanks, guys. give me a propensity for redheads and fishnet leggings and high-heeled boots. Wonderful. Thanks. Anyway. Yeah, that's the moment I realized when I was going through puberty, I have a type. Or I have preferences. Anyway. So it's also it's a fun episode, but also it's one of those where you think, how the fuck did this get past the censors? So moving on now to Power Noia. Power Noia is one of the only later season episodes I really enjoy, where it's basically him becomes Freddy Krueger and attacks the girls in their dreams. This is some of the scariest him is in the show, along with the last episode I'm going to talk about. But he is so terrifying in here. It's almost and it's clear there are some references to Nightmare on Elm Street in here. And what just the psychological combat he does with them, and also the final boss mode he gives. It's just a great horror episode. And speaking of horror episodes with him, my final episode I'm going to talk about real fast is Tough Love. That's the episode where him takes over the town, and it's like, the scary thing is that's the moment you realize him can just win if he wanted to, but he doesn't find it interesting. He doesn't care if he loses. He just wants to be entertained. And that's the episode where you realize, because he just says, I just don't do the same act twice, bye. But that's a scary notion where it's like, he could do this again and do it better. And that's why I think he's one of the best animated villains, one of my favorite animated cartoon villains of all time. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much my 10 favorite episodes from, like I said, not top 10, but my 10 favorite episodes from Powerpuff Girls. I want to thank Jason Voorhees 2011 for sending me this Patreon request. And like I said, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. As always, just let me know in the comments below, what are your 10 favorite episodes from the show? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.